What's up YouTube, I am the Communist Messiah. Today I'm going to be talking about white nationalism. Only I'm not going to be calling it white nationalism, because that makes it seem sort of acceptable. No, it's white supremacy. That's what it is. Apparently it's a relatively recent uprising in people believing that whites are superior in some instances. Okay? This not only is Nazism, it's also complete and utter bullshit. And there are plenty of people out there who will explain this point using biology. Plenty of people out there who will explain this point using psychology. But since I'm not particularly educated in either of those, I'm not going to. I do, however, have an education in history and philosophy, so I will be using those. What does it mean to say that the whites are superior? Well, the main argument is that whites are superior for their intelligence. White people are just smarter. Well, no. Because if you're going by that measurement, then my money's on the Asians. You see, Asian culture actually really highly prizes intelligence. So, Asian people put a lot of effort into things like maths and science. Engineering. Not so much the humanities, but definitely into maths and science. Like, you know, for manufacture, the Chinese win all the time. For invention, the Japanese. So then you could argue, well, according to Darwin's Origins of the Species, which is a flawed book, it's a brilliant book, and it was way ahead of its time, but it's still heavily flawed. But according to Darwin's Origin of the Species, northern white Europeans are the most adapted for survival. Well, that's wrong as well. You're going for adapted to survive. I'm going with people from Africa, or of African descent, because they have two biological advantages on white people. The first, physical ability. I've said it before, I'll probably say it again, and it's slightly politically incorrect, but the reason that Ireland doesn't do too well in the Olympics is because we don't grow enough black people. Look at the Olympic Games from the last 30 years and count up the number of big prizes that have been won by black competitors. People of African descent tend to be faster and stronger due to their heritage. So the argument that whites are more physically fit is wrong. Just simply wrong. Equally, the argument that whites are better adapted to survival is wrong because of the skin colour. If you're going by better adapted to survive, black people actually have a one-up on white people, and that is melanin. Black people have a lot more melanin in the skin than white people do, which means they can last in the sun for longer periods of time. Which means that they can live in a lot more environments than white people can. Like, white people, 15 minutes in the sun and the skin's already peeling. Black people can spend hours and they're fine. So, no, that's not right either. So, whites aren't more intelligent and they aren't physically better. So, where is the argument for white supremacy? The truth is, white people, particularly those with some affiliation to Britain or some connection to Britain, tend to be more affluent because of Britain's melting pot culture. When the Romans invaded Britain, when they arrived for the first time, they brought with them the influences of Greece and Egypt as well. Because they'd already gone through there. And so, in Britain you now have four ideas, four ideologies combining. Little bits of each one being taken. So you've got the pagan beliefs, you've got the Roman beliefs, you've got the Greeks, and you've got the Egyptians. All different ideologies, all different belief systems, all different values combining together. And then you get the Christians. The Christians then move in. And they bring their own ideas. Do you want an example of this? Well, the big example is Christmas and Easter. Now, before you start arguing that Christmas and Easter are religious festivals and they're Christian festivals, after all, it's to celebrate the birth of Jesus and his resurrection from the dead. The dates. The dates of Christmas and Easter fall, respectively, at the winter solstice, there or thereabouts, and the vernal equinox. Both of these are pagan festivals. You know why this is the case? Because people realise that it's a lot easier to convert someone if you tell them they've got it half right than if you tell them that they're wrong. Christians came over and they basically took one look at the pagan festivals and said, okay, almost. Then you've got the invasion of the Saxons, and the Saxons brought about the English language, essentially. You know why? Because when they arrived in Britain, they began to call themselves the Anglo-Saxons, right? The Anglo-Saxons then shortened that name to the Angles, and the language became Anglish, which meant that, after several different accents passed through, English. It's the first version. And then you got the Vikings, and the Vikings invaded, and they brought a bit of their culture as well. Evidence of this, the word Thursday, named after Thor. So, you've got that. And then you got the Norman invasion from France. And so, by the time the British get to America in the 1600s, you've had all of these different ideologies combining together, mixing together little bits of each one being interwoven into white society. Different values of each one. So you've got Greek thirst for knowledge, Greek philosophy and wisdom and history. You've got Roman militarism, Christian unity. So they get to America and they set up white populations in America. And then, of course, in America, a new ideology, republicanism. This whole concept that we don't need to be governed by Britain anymore. So, white history is its superiority. It's all to do with cultural relativism. That's all it is. It's cultural relativism. And for those of you that don't know what cultural relativism is, it's essentially where you take the values of different cultures and weigh them up against themselves rather than others. It's not an absolutist belief. White difference, not supremacy, is because of a difference in belief systems. For instance, the reason that Asia is the most intelligent continent is because it highly values intelligence. The reason that Africa is the most impressive continent physically for sportsmen is because African culture demanded physical brilliance. So the reason that white culture is so highly advanced is because whites value knowledge, value learning. So there's the maths and the science in there as well, but also there's the humanities, history, philosophy, English, language. The whole point of white culture is on learning. It's built on learning, which is a bonus for being white. But it doesn't make you any better than being black or Asian. White difference, not supremacy. See you, YouTube.